soon as possible after the meeting is concluded. We welcome the use of the Welsh language at meetings. I have had no request for people to speak Welsh today, so this meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members attending via Microsoft Teams refrain from using the chat function and instead use the raised hand icon to indicate when you want to speak. Please remember to keep your microphone muted when you're not talking. Moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1 is election of Chair and Deputy Chair. I'm going to pass over to Dareth Harris, the Monitoring Officer and Assistant Legal Chief Officer, to carry out this task. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, if you can firstly deal with the election of the chair. The chair must be a lay member. So if I can ask for, first of all, somebody to nominate a member to be the chair.
Can I nominate Catherine Penny?
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you. And if I can ask the committee to confirm whether you agree with that.
Agree.
Yeah, agreement.
Thank you. So I'm assuming, unless I hear to the contrary, that everybody's in agreement to that and it's a unanimous decision. Thank you. The second thing is to do is appoint a deputy chair. Now, the person as deputy chair can be any member of the committee apart from a cabinet member. So if I can ask for somebody to nominate the deputy chair.
I'd like to move. Oh,
go on, sorry, Nick, go on.
I'd like to move Michael Callagher, please.
Thank you. Can I ask for a seconder? I think that was Councillor Williams, is it? Thank you. So can I ask the committee to confirm that, to see whether they're in agreement?
Agreed.
Yeah, in agreement, yeah.
Thank you. Again, unless I hear anything to the contrary, I'm going to assume that's an unanimous decision. Thank you, members. I'll pass you back to Mrs Pennington as chair.
Thank you all, and thank you for that. Thank you for having the confidence in me to carry on for another 12 months. Welcome and apologies. Geraint, do we have any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've got apologies from Councillor Stuart Ashley and from Nigel Aurelius and Dave Lilly.
Thank you. Geraint, can you ask members in alphabetical order to state whether they have any interest to declare with regard to this day's meeting?
No problem, thank you, Chair. If I can start with Councillor Byrne.
None to my knowledge.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Jones.
None to my knowledge.
Thank you. Councillor Peter Jones.
None.
No, thank you. Mr Callagher.
None.
None. Yourself, Chair.
No. No.
Mr Rees.
Nothing in relation to the agenda, but I always say that I've got a small pension from when I used to work with Torfaen Council back in the 2000s.
My advice is because the reports are fairly general, there's no need to make a declaration at the start, but obviously if you enter into a debate or ask a specific question when we come to that agenda item about a matter, then you can consider whether you have a personal interest to declare at that time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is that everyone?
Nope, sorry, Chair. Is that please? Lastly, Councillor Williams.
No specific interest to declare, no.
That's it now, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you everyone for that. Moving on to agenda item 4, which is the minutes and governance of the Audit Committee from our meeting on the 29th of March, which are pages 3 to 14. Members, please can you state whether you have anything to raise in relation to these minutes? If not, we'll take them as agreed. I can see no indication that anybody wants to speak, so we'll take them as agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is the action sheet. Members, please can you state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the action sheet? If not, we'll note its contents, and that's on page 15. No raised hands. Can I assume that everybody's in agreement? Thank you. Agenda item 6, the annual governance statement. Delith, please can you take over this and present the report for us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report is to present to the committee the draft annual governance statement for comments before it is approved by Council. The statement outlines the governance processes and arrangements that have been operating in the last year, and it is based upon the 7 principles of the first SOLIS framework, and therefore the format is the same each year, but the contents have been updated by the various service areas, and assurance has been given that the key policies and procedures are in place and are working effectively. This year it includes in more detail the county plan and the annual delivery plan, which is at paragraph 6. We've got the updated performance management framework, which is in paragraph 7, and the strengthened governance arrangements of the work of education services, which is in paragraph 10.8. I mean, I don't propose to go to discuss in detail the actual statement, as I assume that the members will have read it. But at the end, which is in paragraph 11, is the review of the effectiveness, which concludes that the arrangements are effective. So it's really for members to actually comment on the statement before it is formally approved by Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Delith. Have we got any questions or queries with regard to this report, please? Mr. Rees, you have a raised hand.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make some comments, if that's okay. I first of all wanted to know, as this is the first opportunity I've been involved in a meeting where we've discussed this part of our work. This gets scrutinised by ourselves, goes to the full council, and is approved. Is it made public at all? Or does it just go onto our website? That's my first query, but I've got a couple of other points I'd like to make if it's appropriate.
Yes, that's fine. Delith, can you answer the question, please?
Thank you, Chair. I know it goes on to the internal website, which is the SOUP, and I know that the Audit Office as well have sight of it, but it's a public document anyway, because of course it's reported formally to the various committees. Thank you.
Okay. I just wondered whether in the general introduction, where it lists all of the various governance arrangements that are in place for the council, if that is going to be there somewhere where the public can get access to it, whether it is feasible, perhaps in the future, not necessarily to change the way that the report looks at the moment, but whether links to various things that are referred to in that statement could be put there, so that the public, the electorate, have the complete picture, if you like. And then I'm particularly interested in some of the comments about how all of the various processes and methods that are used for communicating with the public and taking account of public opinion. And I think that it would be useful for the team responsible for that in the future, that to monitor responses to statements that are made by the council. I'm thinking specifically about some recent hot topics regarding waste management, that when people are putting on social media that, we haven't been consulted about this. We haven't been, we didn't know about it, that sort of thing. That there's some way that, you know, an official statement response can be made to those sort of comments, giving people the means that they were consulted on, because I know for a fact, you know, there are online and face-to-face forums established right across the council. So, but it's just another way of trying to respond and to show to people that we are taking account of their views. It's just a general comment that perhaps you could take back to whoever deals with that specifically. Thank you. Diolch.
Thank you, Mr. Rees. Dallas, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. That's some very useful comments there. Yeah, with regard to the first point about links, then that's something I think perhaps we can look at for the statement that we can produce next year, something we can consider. And secondly, with regard to the comments in terms of communication with the public, I'll pass that back to our Head of Communications. Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dallas. Councillor Williams, you have your hand raised.
Sorry, that was slightly inadvertent, but it was actually to support Mr. Rees, because I think that because some things do change, like the Constitution or the county plan, then I think links so that people can see the most up-to-date version would mean that it always has currency. And I think the other thing would be to, as you say, that would give us some indication as to whether then people, through metrics, whether people are actually following up to see that. So just to speak in support of Mr. Rees on this one.
Thank you for that. Are there any other comments with regard to this report? Councillor Byrne, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to echo what Mr. Rees and Councillor Williams has said, the only thing I think would possibly be good as well, not everybody is online and on the internet, especially a lot of the older generation, as they obviously find it hard to get into, to be honest with you. So is there some sort of way that we could obviously implement that as well, what both the gentlemen were saying there with regards, excuse me, with regards to maybe publicising that in something like maybe Torvine Talks or something, so then we're going out there. We're not just focusing everything online. We're actually showing people as well, members of the public, that we're actually putting it out there in written format as well for them to be able to read.
Okay, thank you for that.
Again, that's something I'll take back, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming back to Mr. Rees. Your hand is raised.
Yes, sorry, and just one last thing, and thank you for the previous comments. Specifically, item 10.8 within the statement, talking about school standards, education improvement. It mentions that there used to be a subcommittee of the School Standards Monitoring Committee, and that was that's been suspended because basically the data wasn't there for them to scrutinise, I assume because of COVID. Is there any plans to resurrect that committee at all?
Perhaps Tom Roberts perhaps can come in.
Tom, can you answer that question, please?
There's no plans currently. We've put these new governance arrangements in place on the back of our, Estin review, which found, some significant weaknesses, which we're dealing with through these new governance arrangements. and we think that's the best way to go about doing it at the moment. The lack of data was not just down to COVID. It was due to a number of issues. You know, Welsh Government dealing with school-based data in a different way, and meaning that attainment data isn't available to local authorities. That predated COVID. That may change going forward, but we don't know at this time, you know, what the future holds. So there's no plans at the moment. These are our new arrangements, and we think they're going to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions or queries? Councillor Byrne, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, just a quick query on that. Why is that not available to local authorities then, Tom? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Welsh Government, but essentially they felt that school-based data was used in a rather perverse way, and basically they see it as schools data belongs to the individual school, and it's not really appropriate to be making you know, comparisons across the piece, and by having that comparative data available, it was, like I say, it was used in the wrong way, perhaps creating, you know, perverse incentives to work in ways which wasn't perhaps beneficial to the pupil. So that was the rationale. Like I said, I think there are moves to make school-based attainment data available again, but at the moment there's no clarity there.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see no other hands raised. If there's no other comments, can we move on to the recommendations, please, which are on page 18 of the agenda. Please state if you're against the recommendations or wish to abstain, otherwise I'll take them all as agreed. I see no abstentions, so we'll take them as agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 7 is the Treasury Management Activities. We have Sharon Dixon from the Group Finance Officer. If you'd like to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. There have been a number of substantial changes within capital finance throughout the financial year 22-23, all illustrated within the report, but I will attempt to highlight the key ones. Firstly, the changes in Bank of England base rate has presented a number of opportunities for both investments and loans during 22-23. There have been 9 interest rate changes, all uplifts, during the year, moving it from 0.75% to 4.25% by the end of March. And it currently stands at 4.5% and is predicted to move even higher. And this has given us the opportunity to repay LOBO loans with more favourable conditions than for many years. So in August 22, we repaid 2 loans, 5.5 million in total, and in February we paid a further 9 million. And this allows us to make an annual interest revenue saving. This leaves us with only 4 market LOBO loans remaining, all with one provider. Slippage on the capital programme has resulted in our investment balances being overinflated, which leaves us exposed to counterparty risk by having to place more deposits. And the option of repaying debt has helped us to alleviate this risk. To cover any shortfalls in cash flow, we have the facility of temporary borrowing, which means we only are locked into paying interest when debt is required, and this is the cheapest form of borrowing. With increased investment balances and increased interest rates, we have double bubble on interest received. So this has risen from 42k in 21-22 to nearly 1 million in 22-23, even though interest rates are still relatively low. As part of our compliance with the Prudential Code, we have measured and reported on our prudential indicators, none of which have been breached during the year. And as stated, there has been a slippage on some of our capital projects, which has resulted in a fall in the CFR or financing requirement to fund these. So in summary, and only as a quick snapshot, we have continued to actively manage the Treasury management activities within approved strategies and the relevant frameworks, and will continue to do so. As I said, a very quick summary, but I will take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have we got any questions, please? see no hands raised, no questions or comments. Oh, Councillor Williams, you've got a question.
No, it's just to say thank you for setting all of this out. It's not an area that I'm very familiar with. I'll hold my hand up there, but I think because it's all been set out, it's sort of the explanation is there and the information is there. So I thank the officers for taking the time to put that together.
Thank you.
I'd like to second that as well. you explained the reason very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, if there are no other questions or queries, can we move on to the recommendations which are on page 44? And that's to note the progress of delivering Audit Wales local and national work programmes and to note the contents of the programme of the Torfaen CBC outline audit plan. Are we all in agreement? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 8. We have Bethan Roberts from Audit Wales. Please could you present your report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Bore da. The cover report in front of you sets out the details of the two appendices we'll be sharing with you. So it'll take you through the Q4 update of our work programme and the outline audit plan. You'll be familiar with the quarterly updates because they've come to this committee regularly. So I'll take you through that appendix first. We issued the annual audit summary, and I believe that came to the last Governance and Audit Committee for you. Julie, my colleague, will give a quick update on the financial audit work.
Thank you, Bethan, and good morning. In terms of an update, very briefly, we've now fully concluded the audit of the grants return, and since the drafting of that paper, the housing benefit claim has been drawn to a close and signed off as well, so there's nothing further outstanding there. And I'll come on to the audit plan briefly in a moment, but yeah, financial audit planning work for 22-23 accounts audit is due to get underway shortly. So I'll hand back to Bethan and pick up on that in a moment.
Thank you. In terms of performance audit work, the report in front of you sets out where we are with the progress of that. So just to pick some of those out, we've issued a draft report on the performance management framework review that we were doing. That's going through clearance at the moment. We undertake the assurance and risk assessment that's ongoing through the year, and there's a couple of specific focus of work we do in that. So, for example, the setting of wellbeing objectives, and we issued a report on that earlier in the year. And then further down, there's details of the local work that we're doing as well. Further down, there's details of the local government and national studies work that's ongoing. The update from Estyn and Care Inspectorate Wales, and then further down there's an extensive list of all the reports that have been issued since the last quarterly update that was brought to you. So all of those link through to our website should you want to have a look at those reports. And again, further down that there's some details about recent blogs that Audit Wales have undertaken as well. So that's a quick run through of the quarterly update. I don't know if you've got any questions for us on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions with regard to that part? Councillor Williams?
Yes, I just noted one of the things was around reports was around waste management, and obviously the council has now set up a working group around raise the rate. So I just wondered whether that was likely to have any impact on the timing of the audit committee, the audit commission undertaking a report.
Oh, we've issued the report to the council, so that will be taken through the council's internal arrangements, so it won't affect our timeframe for doing that report.
So that would be a resource that we might be able to draw upon in relation to that piece of work. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other queries or questions? Okay, do you want to move on to the second part?
Thank you, Chair. I'll pick that up. So the second part in Appendix 2 is our outline plan, and this sets out the Auditor General for Wales's statutory responsibilities as the Council's external auditor. It sets out the audit team and the timetable we're intending to run with for this year for both the financial and the performance work. Planning is due to get underway, like I said, shortly on the financial audit side, and once we've concluded that, we'll be looking to issue you with the more familiar detailed audit plan, which will include the audit risks as we've identified them, the key areas of focus for the 22-23 audits, as well as the estimated cost of the work. Obviously, if there's any questions, happy to take them. At the detailed plan, will probably give a little bit more information as well on the new approach in terms of auditing under the new ISA standard for this year, ISA 315 as well, so I can pick that up when that comes to the next committee as well, but happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Julie. Have we got any questions with regard to this part? Mr. Kelleher, I see you have your hand raised. Mr. Kelleher, I think you're speaking, but we can't hear you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondering when we might expect the plan, not particular dates, but some sort of timescale.
The detailed audit plan. I think we're planning to get that out in September, hopefully. We're getting the planning underway now in July, and then by the time we've got it through in August, it'll hopefully be ready for September.
All right. Many thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other queries, questions? Mr. Kelleher, your hand is still raised. Have you got something else?
No, I didn't think it was raised, Chair. I'll see if I can do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, if there are no other questions or queries, sorry, when I went to the previous recommendations, I turned to the wrong page. My apologies. So the recommendations for this one are on page 44, which are the ones I read out previously, I think. And that's to note the progress made delivered by Audit Wales for local and national work programmes, and to note the contents of the Torvain CBC outline audit plan. Geraint, do you want me to go back to the other previous recommendation?
It might be worth just reading out if you want to.
Sorry. So just for clarity, on item 7, the recommendations were to recommend the Audit Committee scrutinise the Treasury Management Borrowing Activity 2022-23, the Treasury Management Investment Activity for 2022-23, the review of the Treasury Prudential Indicators in paragraph 4.3, and the Capital Programme in paragraph 4.4. My apologies, we got those the wrong way round, but I don't think there were any other things to add to them, were there? Okay, so I think that concludes item 8. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies, for your presence.
Chair.
Thank you. And we move on to agenda item 9, which is the Internal Audit Annual Report 2022-23. Mr. Peter Williams, please, Head of Internal Audit and Procurement, could you present the report for us?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this is the sort of summary of all the quarterly updates I give you throughout the year on the progress on our audit plan. In terms of bringing some key things to your attention. Paragraph 4.1, in terms of I give an opinion on the overall system of internal control, which is our processes, procedures, etc. I deem I can give 3 potential opinions, as outlined in paragraph 4.1. Sound, where there are no significant instances or high priority weaknesses, a reliable opinion or an unreliable opinion. This year I've concluded, similar to previous years, that we have a sound system for internal control, even though there are still areas that need to be addressed. So and it's been that way for a number of years now, and I think the Appendix A illustrates that in terms of the opinions which I think are given for the last 6 or 7 financial years. Appendix, my opinion is drawn from all the work we do in the year. There's a considerable effort put on in terms of what I call core systems, which are the main financial systems of the authority, where all the expenditure and income go through those. So it would be things like our payroll system, our credit payment system, our income systems, debtors, housing benefits, etc. And although we still a positive opinion, I think Appendix A does show a slight deterioration in some of those systems, where the opinions may drop from full to substantial. The way we give an opinion or provide an opinion on an individual system is based on the number of recommendations we make. So although it looks as if there's a slight decrease, it is only 1 or 2 recommendations involved in that process. So for example, when we're going down from there's 1 recommendation this year, there's 2 or 3, and it's slipped into the substantial category from the full. With those recommendations agreed, I fully expect the position to change, and we should see the continuous improvement in future years. With some of the systems, because it's so significant, we audit different aspects of the system on an annual basis. So, for example, in council tax, we looked at different aspects of the system this year compared to last year. So the picture over a number of years gives the overall opinion. But I'm quite happy with that opinion in terms of the progress we made. There's no high priorities in any of those systems, and the recommendations have been agreed by management. If I go on to paragraph 4.3 then, in terms of, this is just an illustration, the table in 4.3, in terms of the extent of the coverage in the year. So, for example, it's split by the different service areas. Resources are obviously one of the biggest ones, where the majority of the financial systems sit. But we've conducted audits, sort of 68 system audits in the year across the various service areas: education and schools, communities, the SRS, social care, housing, neighbourhood services. I think it's called economy and environment these days under the new titles. And obviously there's a table which we do follow-up audits. So we'll issue an audit with agreed recommendations, and after a set period of time, usually about 6 to 9 months, we'll go back and revisit those audits to assess and gauge the progress on implementing the recommendations. So paragraph 4.3 is just an illustration of the level of coverage we've undertaken in the year. Appendix B lists all the work we've done in the year, not just the core systems, and there's some 80, I think it's about 86 or 87 of those. There are no high priority recommendations identified in any of the work we've carried out in the year. Paragraph 4.5 then is a table I've introduced this year, which gives a summary of the opinions across the various systems. And the opinions I can give on individual systems are full, substantial, moderate, limited, or some things don't have an opinion, they're not applicable, maybe a grant claim or something. But that table illustrates then of the work we carried out in the year, at least 82% of the opinions we give are either full or substantial, which means more than 70% of the controls we expect to be in place are in place in those systems. And I think it's on that basis, when you sum all those pieces of work up together, the sort of 80-odd pieces of work, that's the basis upon which I draw my conclusion that we have a sound system of internal control within Torfaen Borough. Paragraph 4.6 then refers to another appendix. Apologies for the plethora of appendices. Appendix C gives a more detailed position on the follow-up audits we've carried out, and I'm hoping it illustrates to you in terms of providing you with a relevant level of assurance that when we make recommendations, they're acted upon in departments. So, for example, on Appendix C, we got the original opinion and the follow-up opinion, and most of them have increased either from moderate to substantial, or they remained at full or substantial to full. But it's certainly a positive progress and a move forward rather than any sort of deterioration of those standards. Paragraph 5.3 brings out where I think there's only one audit in the year where we give a limited opinion. It was on an audit of community halls, and there's an action plan in place, and the follow-up audit is planned to take place. In fact, I think it may have already started in the current year, so I'll be able to report on the progress on that at the next quarterly update as part of this year's phase. Paragraph 7 just illustrates we carried audits in terms of the coverage, not just financial systems, but sort of non-financial systems within the authority. And during the year, we've looked at systems such as corporate complaints, data protection, safeguarding, business continuity, records management, electoral registration. So that's just an illustration that we look at both financial areas of the council and non-financial areas of the council, because all those processes involved in those make up the system, the sort of whole system of controls that the authority operates. Finally, paragraph 9 little bit about our performance in terms of where we are in terms of the actual achievement versus the target. Pleased to report that we exceeded or met the targets in all our areas, and and that's purely down to the work of the team who do all the work, and I don't do much of it. So I think the praise should go where the work is on that one. That concludes my report in terms of how I've given the opinion. Hopefully I've explained where the opinion comes from and how I've given it, but pleased to answer any questions on anything any members may have.
Thank you very much. Councillor Williams, you've got a question.
Thank you very much. As I was framing questions, Peter was answering them. So, I felt reassured when you mentioned about the follow-up audit around the community halls, because I can appreciate that there's an awful lot in that, because there's a lot of halls, there's a lot of different community groups involved, and I think this could be some very helpful work to support those community organisations in the use of community halls. I appreciated your comments too about the follow-up audits, because I was going to ask why, for example, there were so many follow-up audits within social care and housing. But again, I think you've substantially answered that. So just to say thank you for the detailed breakdown of responding to the questions before I had a chance to ask them.
Thank you very much. Telepathy was always one of my strong points.
Thank you. Yes, it was a very in-depth report. Thank you, and I appreciate that there's an awful lot of hard work that goes into it. Mr. Rees, you have a question?
Diolch. And diolch, Peter. Thank you for such a comprehensive report, and I'll add to David's praise for what you've done. Could I just ask about paragraph 4.1? Your opinion is that the system of controls in place is sound with scope for improvement. Great that it's all sound, but have you any comments, opinions, or could you give any indication as to where you think those controls need to be improved? Thanks.
Yes, certainly. Obviously, when we give individual opinions on individual systems, they can be full, substantial, and that's based on the number of controls in place. We give a full opinion if 90% of the controls in place, and I think I've had a debate with previous people in the audit committee about whether full should actually be 100% or 90%, and I'm quite happy with the 90% being in there. But obviously, using the appendices and the illustration, if we look at the core systems, there may be sort of 2 or 3 audits on, maybe 2 or 3 recommendations in payroll or 2 or 3 recommendations in council tax. So that's where the bit of scope for improvement still comes to. I suppose it's perfection, really. You know, if all the controls are in place, there'd be no recommendations, and we could all be made redundant in an internal audit if we got to that level. But no, the improvement is about where there are still recommendations outstanding on individual systems, be they core systems or non-department ones. You know, they need to be worked on to implement those, so we get to that sort of utopia, for want of a better word. But I think one of the other ones that I didn't pull out was the recommendations you made in there. I think only one recommendation wasn't accepted, which was a low-risk recommendation. So, hopefully you can get to sort of assurance from that where we have recommendations, they're practical and are achievable and are being acted on. So, hopefully we'll get there in the end.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions or queries? If there's not, I see no more hands raised. We'll move on to the recommendation, which is on page 79. This report has concluded that the internal control framework operating within the authority is sound with scope for improvement. The annual opinion has been at this level for a number of years. A sound environment will significantly contribute to the risk of fraud and error in our systems is reduced. The opinion has been included into the review of effectiveness contained within the annual governance statement produced by the authority. It's recommended that we note the content of the report and seek clarification, which we have done. Are we all happy? I see nobody unhappy, so we'll accept that one. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, which is the internal audit plan. Again, Mr Peter Williams, please will you present this report.
Thank you, Chair. This is just a confirmatory piece, really. At the last meeting, the March 23 meeting, I produced the draft audit plan for your consultation, and at the time there was still some minor consultation going on with some of the directors or heads of service. I'm pleased to report that I've had all the consultation back from those areas now, and there's no change to the plan, which was agreed in March 2023. So we'll just crack on with it now.
Has anybody got any questions with regard to this report? No, I see no hands raised. The recommendations are on page 88. Please can you state you're against them, otherwise we'll take them as agreed. I can see everyone nodding. Thank you very much. We'll take them as agreed. Agenda item 11 is the Audit Committee Work Programme. This report has been included for information only. Have we got any queries or questions with regard to this plan? Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that one is it's probably 90% there. I think, to be honest with you, the only sort of question marks at the moment are whether there will be a special audit committee in September, because there are two things that would need to be dealt with, and that's just the timing of where the reports then subsequently go on to council. One is Torvine self-assessment, and I think we had a special one in September last year because it goes to council in September, and similarly with the statement of accounts. So obviously we just had the item on statement of accounts. So when they complete, they will be presented to audit committee. So if they complete by September, they'll be part of that same meeting. If they're not, we'll potentially have to arrange another special or accommodate them within October, hopefully.
Were we going to mention the self-assessment forms at this part as well?
Yeah. A final comment from me. I think I sent out the at the last audit committee. We mentioned the self-assessment exercise we were going to do. I sent it out after the last audit committee. I've had some returns on all of them, so this is a little gentle reminder for those who haven't submitted them yet. Can you either send it to me or send me your return if you're not going to complete it, and I get on with the analysis then, and we'll set up a separate meeting. It won't be a committee meeting, it'll be a discussion meeting around the sort of issues that come up as part of that self-assessment. Thank you very much.
Can I just add to that? As lay members, we'd really appreciate it if you elected members fill in these forms, because as lay members, we don't really know how this committee affects the work within the council, really. We don't sit on all of the other committees. You might have a better overview of how effective this committee is. So if you could fill them in, I know it's a bit of my baby and I'm pushing this, but I really would appreciate it if everybody, if had 100% return to Peter with these forms, they only take a few minutes to fill in. We could have a really good discussion then of how effective we are and if we can improve. Thank you. Any questions or queries with regard to that? No, lovely. Right, last agenda is the date of the next meeting, which is the 18th of October 2023. So we don't see you all before, we'll see you then. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.